kill it. I was meant to win. I am down and willing, so I will find a way. It took a minute, now it didn't happen right away. When it get hot in the kitchen, you decide to stay. That's how it winners made. Stick a fork in the hater on my dinner plate. I walk into the fire like it's just a bit of flames. I switch my style up, watch the money pile up. I'ma get rich with life.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Clydesdale Media Podcast, where we are highlighting the athletes from the 2024 Legends Masters CrossFit Games. And I'm so excited to have with me Megan Apostoleris.
Hi.
Did I get that right?
Yeah, actually, super impressed. I was going to comment. I was just waiting for the appropriate time.
Nice. So Greek?
Yes.
How far back do you go to Greece? Who first came to Canada?
So I pretty much only have the last name, and I can say a couple swear words in Greek. So it was my grandparents. They moved from Greece, and so I'm like third generation. So it's, aside from the like loud personality and the cool last name, I don't have that much Greek left in me.
Okay. But I love for some reason, the last names of Greek descendants is just awesome. I think it's cool.
Yeah, me too. I'm glad I have it.
Yeah. So this is your second time back to the CrossFit Games.
Yeah. Feels like my first again because it's a new event this year, which is kind of cool.
Are you excited about the changes they made?
I am actually. Like, it feels different, but I genuinely feel like it's the best thing for both the sport of CrossFit and for the masters who compete in CrossFit. I think it was a good idea, a good move.
So you have been doing CrossFit since almost the beginning.
Yeah.
So I want to know what it's like to do this thing for 15 years and then get your first qualification to the CrossFit Games.
I know it's a question because for me, like I'm super goal oriented, and I actually never wrote down the goal. I want to go to the CrossFit Games as a master's because until this year, it seemed so impossible to make it into the top 10 purely by online qualification. And that's not because I never thought I was not good enough. It's just like legit the stars have to align for 10 people to get picked to go through that, to get to go to the games. Like, just with the like logistics and criteria of online qualification. So to answer your question, like, it was something like I never thought it could happen, but I always knew it could happen, kind of thing, if that makes sense.
So when it did happen, were you caught off guard? Were you just excited that it did?
It was kind of a roller coaster because the way it happened was I in the end I got to go because of another athlete's penalty. And she was a friend of mine and still is, and she's coming to the games this year, which is amazing. But I was at the end of last year's semis, I was sitting like in 12th and she was in 10th, and then she got a penalty and then it bumped me up. So it was just like, well, I guess this is happening. Like it was more just like, it was very surreal until I got to Madison and was like, holy smokes, I'm at the games right now. Like, it was really a roller coaster and very surreal until the moment I was there.
So a lot of the people I'm talking to this week have never been. This is their rookie year, because to be honest, we're bringing more people to the games finally.
For sure.
And deservedly so.
Yeah.
What is the advice you would give to those people after experiencing it last year?
Same advice probably said, take it all in. It's like, holy smokes, you're at the games right now. And it's really easy to get very stressed out. I think the experience I had last year will be quite different than the experience this year. Because last year you're with a group of 10 only in your age, and you're kind of like with them for every event, and you're in the corral with only those 10 girls, and a bunch of them were veterans, 3 rookies, and I was one of them. And so like it was a very kind of like, it was cool and everyone was super friendly. But I think it's going to be very different this year where we're going to have 40 of us. So there's going to be this like wide range of girls to sort of roll with, which I think is going to be really fun. But I guess, yeah, it would just be to take it in. Like, and people gave me this advice last year. Like the games, there should be no pressure. Like your training got you there, and the games is just a chance to enjoy like the fruits of your labor. And so that's my plan for this year. But it was like it was hard to do that last year where it was like whole like you're almost like starstruck when you're there, or I was anyway.
So I met you last year at Legends. You were one of the funniest people I ran into at check-in. Very memorable running into you. You seem to love to compete.
Yeah.
Is that regardless of like the size of the stage? You just love to compete?
Yes, and I have a answer this question. I do, and I compete ever since I was a kid. Like I remember very distinctly when I graduated from elementary school, our teacher gave us all nicknames, and my nickname was the competitor. Even I just always strived to be the best. I don't know where that came from. My parents, I guess, upbringing, I don't know, but I just really take a lot of pride in everything that I do, and I'm really disciplined. And then when it gets to time to like game day, I just really want to showcase. And in that environment where there's like the crowd and music and other people to sort of look and see what's going on, like I very much do my own thing and like, do my own workout, but I just mostly love just the vibe of a competition.
So we're into this a little bit. We're having a little technical issue with your mic.
Okay.
So I think because you have your phone standing on its end,
Yes.
it's interfering with when you talk. Sometimes it's muting your mic.
Oh,
Can you turn it to the side? And then there we go.
is that better?
Yeah. Yeah.
How
And
does
I
that
think
sound?
it sounds great.
Okay.
What it was doing is just muting your mic like every third word.
Oh, weird.
Yeah. So now you love to compete.
Yeah.
What was your athletic background?
Growing up, I didn't play any real sports until I was like a young teenager, like 13. And then I started playing hockey. And I also played softball. And when I grew up in a very, very small town, there wasn't a lot of like opportunity for women's hockey. And I'm also like old because I'm a master's. So I played hockey with the boys until I was university aged. And then I played varsity hockey at university. And then I found CrossFit after that. But I didn't consider like now that I do CrossFit and I'm fit from CrossFit, I don't feel like I was even fit before CrossFit. You know what I mean? Like I would attribute all of my athletic gains to CrossFit 100% and weightlifting.
So how did you find it?
It's so weird. So I worked at a gym, like a mainstream gym, early on in like 2004. And there was a coach there, and he would run these boot camps, and they were so fun and so hard. And I'd be like, Brad, his name is Brad, where do you get your ideas? He's like, oh, I get them from this like website, CrossFit.com. And I was like, oh, cool. And then I moved into a sort of another chapter of life where I became a police officer, and several years went by. Like it got to be around 2008, 2009. And I was in a normal gym again, just being bored, doing the same old stuff. And I saw a guy across the gym doing kipping pull-ups. And for whatever reason, like I saw him doing kipping pull-ups, and that made me think of those boot camps. And then I got home that night and Googled CrossFit Edmonton, which was where I was living at the time. And there was a gym just sort of close by. I looked it up and it said there was a fundamentals class starting like the next day. And I was like, oh, cool. So I, GPSed it. I'm driving there and I'm like, I'm thinking I'm going to like a gym, like a mainstream gym, because I don't know yet really what a CrossFit gym looks like. And so I'm like getting led on my GPS like into this weird industrial area. And I'm like, what is going on? And like I get to the address and there's no sign or anything. I open the door, I like peek in, and obviously like it looks like what I now know to be a CrossFit gym, just like a wide open space. And I'm like, this is weird. And then the coach is there and his name was Cam. And I'm like, hey, I'm here for the fundamentals course. And he's like, yeah, cool. Like, you're the only one signed up. And I was like, okay. And it was quite expensive in my mind back then. And I was like, do you mind if like I just try like one session before I pay a couple $100? And he's like, yeah, sure. So he went through everything with me, like the movements, and then we were going to do a WOD. And I was like, well, can you do it with me? I don't want to do it alone. And he was like, sure. And the WOD was Fight Gone Bad. I remember it. And we did it together. And after that, I was like, wow, I just need to keep doing this. And that gym was called CrossFit Lineage, and it was in Edmonton, Alberta. And I went there for several months. And then my job, I was transferred to Ottawa, Ontario. And even before I moved, I'm like Googling, like, where can I do CrossFit? And so after that one day at CrossFit Lineage, I was hooked, and I haven't stopped since.
Fight Gone Bad and I have a very bad relationship.
I don't like it anymore. It's not one of my favorite workouts now, but I just remember distinctively it was that workout that sold me on CrossFit.
I have thrown up a couple times in CrossFit, and it has either been on a team where like I pushed too hard to help my team out, or Fight Gone Bad.
Oh man, that's so funny.
Yeah.
I want to know from you, why was I memorable at Legends and funny? Why was I funny?
Well, you just are. I think you have that like extrovert kind of vibe.
Yeah.
And when I was going through the line in the check-in, everybody was like afraid to be on camera or afraid to talk, right? And you had no problem with it at all. You actually like kept talking, and it was really cool. I really enjoyed that time.
I remember the lineup. Now that you say the lineup, I totally remember it. Cool.
Yeah. So you find CrossFit.
Yeah.
And eventually you become a gym owner.
That's very recent though.
Okay. So what was that journey to that?
So from like, I'll say my beginning. So like 2008, 2009 to like 2017. All I did was the class WOD. That's all I did. I would come in, do the class WOD, and then leave. And then 2017, I was a master's. And after the open, I was like, wow, like I actually did really well in this year's open. I can't remember. I think I was like ranked 403rd in my age group, which was 35 to 39 at the time. And I always remember back then you needed to make top 200 to like get to quarters or semis, or I think it was called the age group online qualifier at that time. And I was like, wow, I'm 403rd and I just do the class. Like maybe I could be good at this. So then I kind of found some people and started like doing extra training and like getting better. And then the next year was 2018. And I remember I had to be top 200. And 2018, I finished 201. Like legit. I was 201st. And I was like, what the hell? And then 2019, I like really dialed it in and like did even more and started tracking my macros and like getting really into it and training harder and harder and harder. And then so 2019, I like really crushed the open. I did really well. I finished like 15th in the open or something, and then went to the age group online qualifier. And from there, it used to be they would take 20 people to the games. But that year, for whatever reason, they changed it to 10. And I think I finished like, somewhere in the teens. Like I would have made it had they not changed it. So I was like, oh man. And then I just kept training, kept doing my thing. I had got transferred again at one point, I think, like with my job, whatever. I just kept training. And then I don't know, like each year, and then I aged up to 40 to 44, and a couple years in, I ended up qualifying for the games. And then, yeah, I transferred to Nova Scotia, which is where I live now, for work in 2021. And the area that I moved into didn't have a CrossFit gym, but it had a gym that, like, there were some people there doing WODs. And so I was training there, obviously. And I was like, this needs to be a CrossFit gym. Like, there's none here. There's an opportunity. Um, and I met my business partner, who's also my coach now. Um, he was heavily involved in the sport of Olympic weightlifting. So we became friends through that. And one day I just like, we were out chatting and I was like, we like, this gym needs to be a CrossFit gym. You want to open one? Ha ha ha, just joking around. And he didn't really say anything. He's a man of few words. He didn't say anything. He just kind of giggled. But then, like 3 weeks, he came back to me and he was like, "Hey, you know that idea about like opening a CrossFit gym?" He's like, I think we should do it." And so I was like, okay. And so the owners of that gym at the time were kind of looking to get out of it. Like, it was more of a hobby for them. So we bought the gym. We turned it into an affiliate in 2022, early 2022, started running classes, and just growing it sort of slowly, organically. And then actually, the reason why I was rudely late for our podcast today was because we just recently moved locations into this big new facility. We have like the nicest CrossFit rig I've ever seen. Like, I love it so much. And we just moved, so it's growing, it's doing well, and yeah. And it's crazy that I now, own a gym.
Yeah, you and Training Think Tank are on the same gym schedule now. I
Are
don't know
we?
if you saw that yet. Training Think Tank this weekend just reopened their new
Oh,
location.
did they? That's really cool. Yeah, man, it was so much work to move. It was crazy.
I can't believe like Travis Mayer and Max and all, like right before the games decided to move locations.
Yeah, I didn't know that. That is crazy. I was saying, because everyone gets confused. They don't really know that the Masters Games is now at a different time. So they're like, "Oh my God, don't you have to like be at the game? Like, aren't you leaving? Like, you know?" And I'm like, "No, it's at the end of August. Thank God, because I'm just gassed from moving, and So I'm glad I have a few more weeks to just get back in the routine."
Well, you got your odd object training in.
Oh man, I was actually thinking about that when I was lugging those rubber mats around trying to place them. I learned that they each weigh 92 pounds. And so I was just like, yeah, this is games training, like the whole
You're
time.
92 pounds.
Yeah. And I almost wish I didn't know that because it made it worse. The guys we bought them from, they were like, yeah, these each weigh 92 pounds. I'm like, oh man, like that's so heavy.
I moved my old gym twice and I was always the guy who set the new floor.
Oh,
And like you just do it but I never knew they were 92 pounds.
right.
No.
Now you know, and it's going to make it worse. I'm sorry.
Um, so so gosh, I have so much. So are you still in law enforcement?
I sort of am. So I was a police officer for 17 years. And then, just for personal reasons, a few years ago, I retired, and I'm going to use that term loosely. I retired from being a police officer, but the very next day, I went back to work with the same organization, but as a civilian. So I do currently work for the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, but I'm no longer a police officer. I do like a civilian job. Everything's from behind a computer. I do security screening for other federal departments.
So I'm going to ask questions just because of my
Sure.
naiveness.
Yeah.
The Royal Canadian Mounted Police.
Yeah.
What I know of it here in the States
Yeah.
is what I learned on Dudley Do Right as a kid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you ride a horse?
So I did, but only because I did a ceremonial duty, which is called the musical ride, and it's a show where you are on horseback in that outfit, like that you're picturing.
Yeah.
And we traveled around Canada and the world, putting on like a cool, like choreographed on horseback like thing. But normal people in the RCMP, that's the acronym for the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, normal police officers that work for the RCMP don't. We're police officers on the road patrolling, just like everybody else. But we also have a large number of us who work in like national headquarters doing more like behind the scenes policing as well. Similar, I would say, to like the FBI. So there's a few different elements, but like there's definitely the majority of RCMP officers who are in a police car, like arresting bad guys.
Okay.
Which is, yes. But what you're picturing, like the Mountie, Dudley Do Right, all that, like that is a thing. But it's ceremonial now in nature.
Right now, I cannot not picture you in the outfit.
I can send you a cool photo after the podcast.
That's all I can picture.
Yeah, it's legit. We had trading cards. Like when I was on the ceremonial duty, like it's like you're a rock star when you're on this, and you have trading cards. I'm there with my horse. Like it's pretty cool.
So the other question I had for you that's way off topic is your tattoo is so awesome.
Thank you.
So I was scrolling back to your Instagram, and as you go back, you put it together in pieces.
Yeah, I did by accident. Yes.
So what is the significance of it? And because you do kind of talk about it in the post when it finally gets finished.
Yeah. So it started off literally as just like me being a kid wanting a tiny little maple leaf on my shoulder, and it was red and it was like this big. And that's what I got from just some random tattoo studio that you walk into on the street. And then after that, I was like, oh, I kind of want it to look more like artsy fartsy. So then I went to another just like random tattoo studio, and they kind of like made some like cool lines on it. And like at the time I was okay with it. But then I got kind of tired of it and I just wanted more. And I eventually did want like a full sleeve. And then my cousin had this beautiful tattoo, and I said, Alex, where did you get that tattoo? And he told me from this guy named Damon Rowanchild, and his tattoo studio is called Urban Primitive. I always get it mixed up with Born Primitive. So I'm like, Urban Primitive is the name of it. And so I looked him up, and he was in Ontario, which is where I was living at the time, but a few hours drive. So I made an appointment to go see him. And he's this like guy that's in his probably late 50s, early 60s now, kind of like a hippie-ish kind of guy. And he believes that getting a tattoo is almost like a spiritual journey because I don't know, all these reasons. But I was like, I want you to make my tattoo, like cover up this other one, but make it cool. And I want it to incorporate some flowers of the birth months of each of my family members, like my mom, my dad, my brother, and me. So he just like, and he's like a legit artist. Like he freehand drew all the flowers on me, and then did these like cool, like, I don't know if you can see it. They're like all like geometric lines, and he did this all freehand. And when you go to him, he has this beautiful home in the woods, and you're at his home, and you can stay in like a room there, and they feed you him. It was him and his wife. They feed you like organic food, and you just like hang out while they do this tattoo. So he did like just the shoulder part at that point, because it takes forever, because it's all like tiny little dots. I don't know if you can see it, but it's all just like dot work everywhere. So yeah, it takes a long time. And then so he did that part on my shoulder, and then the next like a year or two later, I went back. He finished like the sleeve, and then there was like one little part here that he had to finish. So I went back to see him like multiple times, and like now we're like really good friends. Like we're very on the same page with a lot of our beliefs in life, and I almost feel like he's like a family member now. So everyone's like, oh, are you gonna get more tattoos? I'm like, well, I have. If I could never cheat on Damon at this point.
Right.
So yeah.
It's so funny because when I got mine, the same guy did all the parts of mine.
Yeah.
And like I would never go to anybody else because
Yeah.
I love it so much.
Totally.
And I want to finish the sleeve someday too.
Yeah.
Mine's like up over.
Oh yeah, cool.
And then like into here and
Yeah.
but yeah.
When you find a cool artist, like I know that's like, I almost wish I had only Damon's work like on me. Like he incorporated his into my old one that was done by just some Joe Schmo. But I wish that I sort of wish it was just Damon's work because his just like to me, it's just like so much better than my original. But anyway, it's life. It's a journey.
Yeah, I was going to do it the way you did it, like piecemeal it, but and use different artists. And
Yeah.
someone said you do not want to do that.
No.
You want to go to the same guy and make it,
Yes.
because nobody wants to work on somebody else's artwork.
No. And I feel like I maybe you've experienced this as well, but like I feel like the way Damon, like he's such an artist that like I feel like what he draws on me is like reflective of our chats, and like he gets to know me and then know, like, I don't know, it's just like a different thing.
Yeah, yeah. It becomes a relationship for sure.
Oh, big time. Yeah.
Yeah. So scrolling through your Instagram, two other things stuck out to me. Actually, like every time I got it was like another flip surprise.
Okay.
But I loved how your hair got shorter,
Yeah.
like
And then
much
longer.
shorter.
Yeah.
And then bam, it goes really long.
Yeah.
But the other thing that surprised me was you boxed.
I mean, once. Yeah.
Are you that person that's like, I'll try anything? Or is that out of character for you?
The boxing thing. So there's this cool event, and it was organized by two really cool guys named Scott and Matt Whitaker, called Fight for the Cure. And it was organized by them. Forget when the first one was, several years ago. And the intent of it was to raise money for the city of, like, Ottawa, Ontario is where I was living at the time, but it was to raise money for the Ottawa Cancer Foundation, which is an organization that just helps people deal with cancer. So what it is, it's called a white collar boxing match. And it started off really small and now it's huge. So they take people from the community and train them from zero to like a fight. It was 9 months of training twice a week. And you have to fundraise the whole time. And the goal of it is to raise money for this organization. And the fight is like a gala black tie event at a cool venue with table, like it's fancy schmancy. And I just happened to, and you have to try out for it, but a lot of it is like who you know. And I kind of just, someone recommended me. And like this again, kind of like the games, like the stars have to align because they have to be able to find a suitable opponent for you that's within certain age ranges and weight. But anyway, it ended up lining up for me to be a part of this, and I just, like anything, I got really into it, and it was so cool. It was terrifying. I didn't particularly enjoy boxing, because it was very much like, I'm not very relaxed. And it was really like, boxing's like dancing, where I'm like, I like to learn how to clean and jerk because you do this step by step by step. Like, you don't have to interact with another human. So I found the training really hard, in the same way that I found like scenario based training for police work really hard. Like, I always felt like I was acting. But then boxing, like fight night came, and I was like, let's go, like it's game time. And I brought it, and I ended up like, it was a really good match. I ended up winning, but like it was really close and awesome. And it was probably the coolest thing I've ever been a part of. But after it, everyone's like, so are you going to continue boxing? And I'm just like, no, I'm not. Like, I didn't really enjoy the sport, but like the event and the experience and everything that I got out of it, like it was an unbelievable experience that like I will never forget. I get up there with the games. Like it was epic.
That's really cool.
It was super cool.
So how would you compare the training for boxing with the training of CrossFit?
The training, so my CrossFit training obviously really helped. Like, I was the fittest person by far there. The other guys had a lot of catching up to do, and they did become much fitter over the 9 months. I just added the boxing training on, like onto my current training, and I was also training for a big weightlifting meet at the time as well. Boxers are extremely fit. Like, it blew my mind how, like, it was very, very hard work. The fitness level of people that fight is like out of this world. So if anything, the boxing training like really helped my CrossFit training, but my CrossFit training helped my boxing training as well. Not the like fighting part of it, but the fitness part of it for sure.
Yeah. So we're up on the 30 minutes. Gosh, I could talk to you all afternoon.
Yeah.
But I know you have a busy day going on. How are you taking anybody with you to the games this year?
So I'm taking my coach. Do you want to come say hey? Oh, he's back. He just walked in the door, but he hates being on camera or on video or in photos. My coach for sure will come. Last year, my brother also came, and one of my super good friends, Sue, she also came. I would love both of them to come again. I'm not sure either of them will be able to. I hope they can. I would prefer fewer people. Like a lot of people bring like their whole family. I get really stressed out by that because I feel like I have to make sure everyone's happy all the time. So if it ends up just being my coach and I, that's totally cool. He is my business partner, and so he knows we're close. We're like family. So that's just fine as well.
When you were at Legends, were you by yourself?
When I was at Legends, no, actually my same girl, Sue, who came with me to the games, also came with me to Legends. So she was there as well. But my coach didn't come to Legends because I can't remember why. I think he had to stay back because no one with the gym, there was something with the gym, so he couldn't get away. But yeah, my girlfriend Sue was there.
Well, the reason I ask is you didn't seem nervous at all compared to
Yeah.
everybody else.
Yeah, maybe like I've just I've done a lot of competing. Like like I've been doing CrossFit for a lot of years, and I think it's just because I've done a lot of competing. And this isn't supposed to sound at all negative, but the games like that I went to last year was like there's no other competition like it. Like the attention to detail, the magnitude, what I saw there, like it blew my mind. Like, so it almost, and again, not in a negative, makes all other competitions seem not as scary. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I've always wanted to do Legends, and I have for years. But just one sec, John. Hey, can you just wait on that, John? Sorry. He was drilling. I'm like, it's gonna be too loud. But yeah, it just makes all the other competitions seem a little bit less scary. But not that that's bad. But yeah, I didn't feel nervous for Legends. I just was like excited to be there because it's a competition I've always wanted to do, and because I had an invite, I didn't have to do the qualifier, so that was like such a bonus. Oh
Yeah.
man, online qualifiers are so hard. Like the logistics of them.
Yeah. My co-host Jamie hates online.
I do too. It almost makes it not worth it because you go out, like it happened to me a couple of times in 2023 when I was qualifying for the games. There was one workout at least in quarters and another workout in semis where I had to redo them because of something ridiculous. Like the rower screen was like blurry on the video, like just something where you're just like, oh man, like, and everything has to be measured. And like, what if the camera doesn't work? Like, it takes a bit of the fun out of it. Like, I really, really, really hope, and like maybe this move with the Legends guys taking over, like it would be so cool if we could qualify in person or online, like depending on what your needs or ability, like if you could travel to qualify, it'd be cool.
So we've done some research into this. The 35 to 49-year-old masters athletes
Yeah.
have a collective 3 million followers on Instagram.
Yeah.
Like that's a lot of eyes.
I
If we
know.
can just get them all to this event,
Yeah.
Labor Day weekend,
Yeah.
to come to watch, do
Yeah.
whatever they can,
Yeah.
and it can show that this can be a big festival.
Yeah, and like, I mean, let's be serious here. Like, it's different. It's different than the games, the individuals. Like, it's a different thing, and you almost can't compare it. Like, but it doesn't mean that it's not significant to a large number of people. And like, we're masters. Like, we have most of us, like we have some disposable income available. Like I would guess that like the majority of masters would so much rather travel to qualify for the games in person somewhere than do it at home. Like,
Yeah.
I just think there's so much that can be done with it, and I really, really hope that this move, like with Legends, will be pushing that in that direction.
Yeah. And for the spectators of the games this year, the barrier to entry is so much less than the games. Like, it's cheaper to go to this event than it is to go to the games.
Totally.
So you're not watching Jeff Adler, but you're still getting to watch Will Morad, and you're still getting to watch, right.
Totally.
So, well,
I
Megan,
wish that I wish, and maybe they are, I don't know. I wish that CrossFit, or I don't know who, maybe I'm saying it wrong, but I wish that CrossFit or someone could do almost like a, like in the NHL, sometimes they do like the old timers, they bring back, like, there's so many amazing masters athletes. And I think for a lot of years, it almost feels like, oh, like masters, like it's lame or whatever. Like, I'm not going to do the masters, but there's so many good X Games athletes now that, like, it would be so sick if they'd all come out and compete. Like, it'd be awesome.
your division's stacked with former games athletes.
Oh man, like, and the
Podium
35
winners.
to 39, like, and it's if the games, like, as the individual ones, like, age out kind of and then become masters, like, it's only just going to get better if everyone wants to stay involved. Like, I just think it's going to just get better and better and better. That's my hope anyway.
Well, the 40 to 44-year-old division has 3 former podium winners.
Totally. Oh man, last year my division, like the 10 of us, it was all like, it was like Sam Briggs, Becca Voigt, Miller, like it was all these legit beasts. Like, it was so cool to be there with those girls. Like, anyway, yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you for taking time out of a busy day, moving your gym, and still doing this with us. We're going to be in Birmingham. We got permission to do a full behind the scenes documentary.
Cool. Sweet.
So we're gonna Ellie Hiller and myself will be backstage.
Cool.
Chatting with you guys in the warm-up area, the corral.
Amazing.
And we're gonna put together a really cool documentary after the fact for you guys to be able to go back and reminisce about the weekend.
Well, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for caring so much about the Masters athletes. I think there's a vibe that, like, oh, no one cares about Masters. And I know that's not true, but things like this really help in getting content out there. So thank you very much for doing these interviews and for coming and having a vested interest in all of us. It's awesome.
Well, thank you, Megan. It was a joy meeting you last year. Can't wait to see you again this year.
Likewise.
Good luck on the move, and we'll
Thank
see you really, really soon.
Thank you so much. I'll see you soon.
All right. With that, everybody, thank you in the chat for being here. Thank you for watching, and we'll be back next time on the Clydesdale Media Podcast. Bye, guys.